Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Today, Duff Dog and I are going to see if we can't get a 1970 GMC running that's been off the road for 20 years. Yeah, you better get all stretched out. Never mind, GMs are easy to get running, aren't they? So I picked this one up late this summer. Came from that yard that had a little over 300 cars in it. This was probably one of the most complete vehicles there. Well, maybe not. Probably one of the most complete pickups, especially for 67 to 72s. There was a few that were picked over. What are you finding under there? Just all up inside it. Wait till we get over there. Don't ruin the surprise. Anywho, this was kind of in the MVP row. This was kind of one of the personal projects that never got done, so they decided to let go. So as you can tell, it's a GMC. It's got Chevy hubcaps on it. Those were on it when I got it, I think. Anyway, this was sitting behind his house, kind of rotted into the ground. Put some tires on it to roll it in here. Struggled to get the doors open. But it's a GMC. It's got the 4 headlights. Chevy's only had 2. 4 headlights better than 2, they say. I don't know. Got the chrome grille surround, the chrome grille, chrome bumper. GMC bumpers, a little bit different. They got that niche there for the park lights. Same hood as Chevy's. I think the fenders are different. Maybe? I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. For some reason, I think that these fenders are the same as a 68 Chevy, but nah, I'm probably wrong. Somebody took the old grapple when they were shoving it around before these guys got it and put 3 nice vent holes in the hood. Peeled that one just like a tuna can over there. It's got the chrome trim around the windshield. Mirrors missing. Small block automatic vehicle. Oh yeah, you're getting the full tour down there, aren't you? It's got the wood grain trim on the bottom. Got the green interior. Seat's actually pretty decent. Carpet's gone, so that's good, I think. Yeah, check her out. Let us know what you think. It's got the deluxe gauge cluster, no tilt. Is that supposed to be chrome on all of them? I don't know. No AC. Looks like a custom trim package. Like I said, it's a 70, so it's got 6-lug drum brakes. 71 was the first year 5-lug discs. Doesn't have the hole in the door like the 72s do. Doesn't have the chrome wing windows. And doesn't have the mirror on the windshield. Does have a headliner. Higher trim packages had that. Looks like the rockers are a little rusty. Floors seem okay. Green interior. Don't see that a ton. Got the stainless trim around the back window. Does have the optional cargo light. Got a little hooey in the bedside here. A lot of moss on it, so maybe we'll do a pressure wash video. You guys want to see one of those? Get a lot of people asking. I don't know why. I don't know what that is, but get out of here. It is an 8-footer. Tailgate's there, pretty good shape. Aftermarket tow bumper. These always get whammoed and screw up the box sides, but this one ain't too bad. Does look like she's had a little mud work done before. Needs a tail light, surrounds missing. This side, it's always the passenger side gets buggered up. A little chewy there, a little chewy there. But this thing's 51 years old now, so not too bad. It does have the optional toolbox there. I'm not a fan of those. I know they're kind of rare, so there's probably guys that get excited for them. Not me. I was really tempted to shorten this one up, but with that box in there, I would have to cut some out of that side that I shortened up and graft over here. It can be done. We'll see how attached I get. Oh, the other thing with GMCs is he's got leaf springs in the back, parallel leafs, just like pretty much every 73 to 87 pickup. And then Chevys generally had coil springs, but about 5% of the GMCs do have coil springs, and about 5% of the two-wheel drive Chevys do have leaf springs. Worthless knowledge for you. We're full of that, aren't we, Duff? Duff really likes 88 to 94 bench seats. So do I, but that's his new couch. Show him your new couch. Give him the old walk around of it. Well, I guess worst case scenario, if we don't get it running, we could always slam a 6-liter in it. Comment down below what you guys think we should put that 6-liter in. You guys have seen my fleet. I know we can't put it in a Ford because all you guys will get all screaming mad at me. So back to the debacle where I couldn't get the doors open. I drilled out the lock thinking that it was the lock that was stuck. Turns out it wasn't. Turns out that the wheel that was in here, or that is in here, was all rusted up. So smacked that with a hammer repeatedly and got her open. Ooh, wood grain on the door panels even. Dang. I think the lower trim packages just had a steel door panel. He's got this vinyl covering. Needs a good cleaning, Duff. All the good smells underneath that seat. What's it smell like in there, huh? Smells like you want to go for a ride. What do we got in here? What's in the glove box? Holy frick. Owner's manual. Brand new fuel filter. Icebreaker. I'm gonna have to use that one on the ladies. Frickin' warranty plan. Oh, no way. The Protecto plate. Who bought her new? Looks like June 15th, 1970. Elvin Hansen bought her brand new in Carrington, North Dakota. How neat is that? Owner's manual. Ain't even all chewed up by the mices. And the side trim, leaf springs, block heater, automatic, push button radio, the good gauges, white, tinted glass? Tinted glass? Why is it all rusty up there? But I don't know what the tinted glass is part. Maybe this windshield's been replaced. Oh, hey, look, a toothpick. Yeah. They don't need those in South Dakota. We're on it.
I'm on meth.
Sport truck, olive vinyl, tool storage box, heavy duty battery. Ooh, power steering and power brakes and front shock absorbers. Shock absorbers, that was a good addition right there. Had some Tomcat in here. Apparently the Tomcats ate all that, so probably some dead mice is in here that Duff. Typical of these things, cab corners are a little chewy. Rockers are chewy. Cab supports, yeah, they're chewy too. Or non-existent. Whatever. Mirrors on this side. It does have a chrome or stainless arm as opposed to the painted one on the other side. Missing the antennae. Windshield's busted. Overall, not bad. Right, Duff? Hood's buggered. It's got some rust, but I think a good cleaning, and she'll be presentable. What is under there? Are we gonna find a raccoon that jumps out of here? Well, let's open this hood, see what happens. What do we got? We got small block, short water pump, power steering, quadrajet, points, ram horn manifolds. Oh yeah, that's a good battery hold down. 2 hooks on it. Somebody put a new battery cable one time. Oh, it's even got the factory battery hold down. She's rusty there. Oh yeah, how rusty are the cups and the fenders? Oh, they're gone. Never mind. Weight reduction. Peekaboo. Hey, Duff. It's not gonna overheat with all the ventilation under here though. I hope I don't cut my head on that. That's gonna suck. See, antifreeze was good in 1990. That was only 31 years ago. Let's throw a battery in this thing. See what happens. There's our hybrid plug-in. Spare plug wire. Are we gonna need that? Are they all on? Ah, sure enough. One, nope. It's there. Just run all the way around the front. Let's pull the dipstick. There you are. Easy to find on a small block. It's not on there, so let's dump something wet in there, I guess. Oh, she's still got the factory markings on the firewall. It's got the slingshot engaged, all the boost radiator cap. Yeah, nothing in there. It's got a pretty good sized radiator for not having AC. What's that, 3-core? Maybe it's a 4. So we need some oil and a bat. Oh, we don't have any keys. Son of a biscuit. Guess we'll have to figure something out there. I guess for now we'll just have to use the old got no friend starter switch and the jumper wire. I could see somebody didn't use 2 wrenches at one point when they changed that fuel filter in the inlet and the carburetor, and they twisted that off. Oh boy, that's stiff. Speaking of that, we should cut that fuel line off so that we don't suck up any crappy old fuel up here, because clearly this has had a fuel tank issue in the past. This is like a 3 sandwich job. We're getting the finest today. Yeah, Blue Ribbon Award winning stuff. Gotta chew that stuff. It's from Milwaukee, it's gotta be good. I see what Duff was smelling in there. That's a pretty fresh 5-0.
Let him rip, kid.
Yes, sir, Mr. Burpser.
He's only missing half his head. Ooh. They taste like Pringles, I heard. Ooh, squishy. So we got our trusty Never Start here. Duff does not approve of the Never Start, apparently.
Are you on your TV thing already?
Hey, Rob! Just for you. I brought Leif back.
Don't cuss when you walk in the door of the shop, boys and girls.
Alright. Lined up our first sandwich and a couple of tools. Let's get the old small block Chevy fired up. Oh, that's right. I feel like these guys told me that it needs a flex plate. Great. Well, let's hook up some battery cables and find out if that is in fact true. No smoke, good to go. At least with the old ram horn manifold, the starter wires should be easy to get at. Maybe. Spoke too soon, that wasn't much fun. Come on, baby. No. Sure enough, that starter sounds terrible. So right there you can see the starter solenoid. Watch when I hit that starter solenoid. The bolts are pretty loose. Do it one more time. So maybe, I think we'll drop that starter out of there, see how the ring gear looks. And hopefully we can just tighten it up or maybe put a different starter on, but if it's too late, we might be putting a flex plate on it like they said. So here's our starter right here. This is the solenoid you saw dancing around. Here's the bolt. She looks a little loose. And that starter bolt head looks unfamiliar, as in somebody put a standard bolt in there and they like to break off in the block. So that might be great. Then if you look over at this side, looks like a great big washer on there. This might be interesting. I think that's the cause of all of our issues. I just hope it didn't wing up the teeth on the flex plate, because that'd be pretty methed up South Dakota style.
I'm on that.
I'm gonna try pulling those bolts out. Maybe even take that inspection cover off the flex plate, see what happens. Are you helping? What a guy. Oh, you're just telling me how bad the cab supports are? Yeah, that's what I figured. At least that one's there, because that one's not. All right. Well, the teeth don't look too terrible. They look a little chewed up. I wonder if we can... Oh yeah, we should be able to turn that engine over. Maybe. Not by hand. We should go grab the... Turn it... Oh, there we go. He-Man it. This whole debacle. And that's... I think that's cast iron. I thought they're supposed to be aluminum. So maybe somebody put the wrong starter on it? Who knows? There's a lot of special mechanics out there.
She's a squirter.
Including myself. So let's pull those bolts out and see what we got. Oh, it's because they didn't have the body ground hooked up to the valve cover. There's your problem right there. Cheese and rice. Oh yeah, that bolt is all bent. Good news is it looks like a starter bolt and it's all there. So shouldn't be snapped off in the block. Doesn't mean there isn't still damage to the block. It's definitely bent though. It's plenty long. I don't know what we're gonna get here. I don't know. I think it's just the wrong starter. Oh, I see some starter shims up there too. Or maybe just a washer. Same thing. Wow, look at that fat stack of washers. Can't really see on here, but that bolt's pretty bent. 9 washers. Those will go good in my washer stash at least. Use my A Purvis knife here. That's a good one. It's still sharp yet. You can see inside that 3/8 hole how it's just a machined hole and then the threads are up there a ways. And that's where the knurled area of a starter bolt sits. You can see those knurling, those diamond stamps in there. Those get up in there and they just really bite into that block, so you hopefully don't have issues like this. We're gonna drop that starter out. See if we can't find a different one. Maybe clean up the block a bit. So I went and scrounged up another starter out of my pile, but before we look at the starters, let's look at these bolts. Most factory GM starter bolts have got a flange on them. So this one makes me feel like it's an aftermarket bolt, which we all know aftermarket stuff usually isn't as good, but you could see she's got a little wobble to it. And you can see where it's been rubbing on the side there where it's all shiny. And this one's got a wonderful stack of washers for the washer collection. This one seemed, it's got a little bend to it. Here's our new one. Maybe they don't work as bad as I thought. So I pulled this starter off. And see how this is cast steel? This is cast aluminum. Housing is steel. See how it sticks to that? I don't know what that's off of. I know on like the manual transmission ones where the bolts don't go that way, they go this way. They're usually cast steel. I don't know. It just seems like the wrong starter application to me. And you can tell it's really not that old. It's kind of greasy, but it's still got a lot of the coating, and you can see the black paint down there. But you can see this ear is busted off. Oh yeah, look at all that nice gray paint on there. I think somebody just got the wrong starter and fought it. So hopefully this used one here from Triple B Industries. I don't know, Triple B's, that's pretty big. And then I scrounged up a couple of new bolts here. But you can see how that knurling just barely sticks past the mating surface. We'll clean that mating surface up with our thumb. Call it good. We'll slam that on there. We just got 3 wires to hook up. There's your battery cable. Sometimes there's a power wire coming off that feeds the dash. And then this one that's on the inside closest to the block, that's your starter solenoid, which is usually purple. And this side is only used when you've got a points ignition application, aka HEI doesn't use it. But this wire feeds 12 volt power to the coil when you're cranking it over. Whereas you only have like 9 volts when that engine's usually running because it goes through a ballast resistor. But there you go. Some useless knowledge for you on starters. Always make sure you got the right part and make sure you're using the right bolts. I see a lot of issues where people just put a regular grade 5 3/8 bolt in there. You don't want these to snap off in the block or you got yourself a nightmare. And sometimes you do have to shim these. They make a shim that goes in there if you've got some noise. And sometimes you might just have to shim one side of these bolts. But I'm going to clean up the bottom of the block and hopefully we'll be cranking it over. First sandwich down. So we got the new starter on. New. We got a different starter on from the starter bin. Let's see what she's got in her. Or doesn't have in her. Or it could not make any noise at all. Son of a biscuit. Maybe you should bench test these starters before you put them on. You look good. This is starting to look like a 16 sandwich job. GMs are supposed to be easy, Duff. I did a little prodding around down there with our Chinesium starter driver, and it doesn't sound good. Like we got a bad ground, maybe? Or the engine's locked up. Maybe we'll pull some spark plugs out. See what happens. See if it turns over easier then. These spark plugs look like brand new. There. Plugs are all out. No oil in there because there's no oil in the engine. Well, I guess I'll get my flywheel turner, throw on the ring gear, turn it over by hand just to make sure, but I think we got a bad connection somewhere. Dumped a couple quarts of oil in. Got our engine turning over. I did spray some lube in the cylinders, and I noticed this back cylinder had some water coming out. You can see it down there on the starter solenoid. See what happens. I bet some water comes out of there. Turns over pretty good, no crazy noises. That starter's a little bit growly, so we might have to shim that. I'm guessing that's what they were doing when they screwed it all up, but maybe we'll get to show you guys the starter shimming process, because I'm definitely not an expert. We need a new battery cable end. We're not gonna put a whole cable on, because this nice light one that's black, that'll work just fine. This is obviously the cylinder that was hanging up. You could feel it catching a little bit when I was cranking it over by hand. Got a little water in there somehow. Oh well. Now she's gonna fire. Right, Duff? Do you approve? Got our new battery cable end on. See if we got spark. Since we don't have keys, I'm gonna just run a jumper wire from the positive to the positive side of the coil. Oh man, this one's even got the lift kit on the quadrajet. Heck yeah. Does anybody know why they installed these? I mean, do you get more horsepower? Clearance issues? I don't know. I know a lot of the 67 to 72s have them. Looks like that wire is the negative side and going to the distributor. So this side should be the power side. That's the yellow wire. So let's get our yellow wire. Hook her onto there. Loop it through the fan blade. Over to our new battery cable end. Now we should have spark jumping off the coil. Look at that. Didn't even clean the points. This thing's been sitting 20 years. Look at that hot spark. Boom. Now we're just gonna throw our old spark plugs back in. Hook up the plug wires. Give her some hot sauce, just that easy. After we unhook the coil wire so we don't burn the coil out. Oh, for cheese and rice, go in the hole. Your plug wires are like a limp noodle. They're probably shot. It'll be fine. You should always have the number one right here. Point at the number one cylinder. So what they got? That's definitely not it. They got it right here. So that's 1, that's 8. Start back over. Okay, plug wires are all on. Coil wire up, give her some hot sauce, see what happens. So I've already cut my fuel line so I don't pick up any trash from the tank and fill the fuel pump in the carburetor. So don't have to worry about that. Got oil in it. Here we go, slingshot engaged.
Slingshot engaged.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not too bad for being off the road for 20 years. I'm sure it's going to need a carb kit and a tune-up, so on and so forth. But small block Chevy. They just run. They just want to run. Now I guess we gotta figure out an ignition switch. I'm sure the brakes are fine. Maybe put some coolant in it, run it for a little bit, check the transmission fluid. We're making progress though, here we go. Oh boy. That's a lot of mouse nest that was in that tailpipe and some type of seeds of sorts that blew everywhere. How neat is that? Mice like to crawl up the old tailpipe. I don't recommend it. And making a nest up there. So I think we're actually going to be good on the fuel tank. Shine my light in there. See if I can get you guys to see that. Probably not. Where's the bottom of the tank? Oh yeah. You can see there's a little bit of, I guess, varnish down there, but I'm really not going to do much of a better job pressure washing that out or soaking it, and it's really not worth it. I don't think that's going to bother too much. We'll just put an inline filter in there or something. There's a couple of bugs and whatnot in there, but really not too bad. It ain't all full of rust, so I think we're just going to fill her up, maybe put some seafoam in it. Call it good. So that's a win. Let's see what we got under the master cylinder cap. There's about a 2% chance that there's actually fluid in here. Sure enough, bone dry. So I guess we'll put some fluid in there. Try bleeding the wheel cylinders, starting from the furthest away, so right rear, and then work our way up to this wheel and see if we can get brakes. This pickup does have a dual reservoir, so if you blow a brake line, you should at least have brakes on the other axle, so that's a plus. And it's not all rusty in here, so again, that's a plus. Top her off and jack it back up, see what happens. Duff just barked at me and said, check the suspension while you're under there. So I said, okay. And I grabbed the wheel. She got some play. I think that tie rod end, she's cooked. Good news is, there's 4 of them. One on the inside, one on the outside on each side. That one's a little bit better. Guess I'll check some other things while I'm under here, but she's a little worn out. Brake hoses are on it, so that's a plus. And they actually look pretty stinking new. I mean, probably only 28 years old. Good catch, Duff. I don't know if I can get in here and wiggle it and do both, but check out the upper ball joint. She's shot. Might be time for some suspension parts too. Gosh dang it, we just can never catch a break. Can we, Duff? Wish I'd have shown you guys what was going on in that 60 Impala, because that thing was, that was toast with 244K. This thing must have like well over 100 on it. Used up. So I'll give you guys a tech tip on brake bleeders here. So before I put fluid in it, I go and pull all these out because they like to snap off and they get full of dirt. You can see all that rust and dirt that was in there. What I like to do is take my drill and a bit, it's just the right size to fit in there, drill all that stuff out of there. That way they'll bleed out better. You can see they seat on that taper, and then once you crack them open, it leaks past that taper and goes in that hole. So sometimes you got to take 2 bits, use that smaller one to drill that hole out, and the bigger one to drill the hole in the end out. That'll make your life a lot easier. And also, when you're drilling into that, sometimes it gets real hot. So when you go and put your lips up to it and blow on it, let it cool off first. Ask me how I know. You'd see that those 3 are the factory ones, and this wheel cylinder has been replaced, or at least the bleeder has. And I noticed there was a new brake line running to that side too. That was on the left rear. So we should be good. We should have 1 newish brake on there. Yeah, there's a lot of crud in there. There's some metal shavings, some fresh stuff in there, so I got a little bit deep in there. Grab your drill index and ream her out. Also, these Norseman drill bits, I'm not sponsored by these guys, but these are good. Spend a couple extra bucks. And then always get the ones with the flat sides on there so you can really grab onto it and reef on things. These ones are about 4 years old, and I've broken a few, lost a few, but no complaints. Well worth it. Way better than the $20 sets you get at the hardware store. And they're made in America. So since we're under here, I'd give you a little tour of the underside of the old 70. You see, that's where your inner cab corner would be. Good news is it didn't rust out the outside because it just took the inside out, so everything could just breathe right through there. Pretty common on these. Inner rockers are pretty soft. Front cab support, she's pretty weight reduced, I guess. And the back one's just MIA. No worries, because they mount back here. Floors, got a little rot, not bad. Exhaust, she's been restricted for all the horsepowers. And a little cobbled up, somebody put a splice in there. Oh boy. U-joint is no bueno. No. Transfusion's pretty greasy, so I'm guessing that leaks a bit. I suppose we should replace this fuel line that comes from the tank in the cab. It's good. Oh, look, somebody patched up this side. Oh, hey, look, a tire iron. Hey, little buddy. We're just gonna put you back up in there, pretend like we didn't see you. This is usually the first one to wear out here, so that's been replaced. That brake hose doesn't look good. Shocks look to be original. Bump stops, we're just gonna go ahead and cut those off. There's the parallel leafs that you see on the GMCs. This is new to me. That's that toolbox. Never seen one of those from the bottom side. Bed floor, I don't see any daylight, so that's good. Apparently the light duty mechanics wire didn't hold the muffler up, so we got some number 9 that's really not doing anything either. And then you can see the exhaust has just been kind of hanging on the rear end. And judging by the dents there, she's made contact 5 or 9 times. Oh, there's a random wire just hanging there. I don't know what that's for. See, that brake hose might have been replaced. You can see how the dirt just packs in underneath these things, and that's why they get so rusty. Cab corner is a little chewy there. Rocker's chewy. Toolbox is chewy, and that caused the bottom of the box to rot out. Awesome. Makes me despise these toolboxes even worse. A little rot back here. Looks like each side's got a little dent there. And then dirt always comes off this back wheel and lands right up here. Rots out the back corner of the boxes. They do it on the square bodies as well, in the floor. Oh, that box cross rail is, that dirt in there, that's structural. There's the new brake line that I was telling you about. You can tell it's been replaced because the way it's been professionally bent and that they left a tag on it. That way you got the part number for when you really want to crudely bend another one. What did he use to bend that? Did he just use an axe to bend it or what? Real good. Then you can see this side's original. I'll straighten her out. You can see how nice the bends are in these versus what Billy Hack had going on. Breather tube is present. That's always a plus. Well, of course, the breather on the top is gone, as usual. Let's put some bleeders in and get some brakes. What do you think, Duff? Are you taking a break? You want any part of this video? God, we had such a rough day out running around playing with Zeus yesterday. Well, brakes are all bled, and I'm still not getting much braking action, so breaking news right here. We're going to try to adjust them up a little bit because I think that they just weren't adjusted out far enough. Looks like they got pretty dang new shoes on there. And there isn't hardly any ridge inside the drums, so those should be in good shape. I'm guessing they had turned them, or maybe they're just worn out that much. So here's our adjuster down here. Basically you turn this wheel. This is your self adjuster. That just pushes down on that wheel like so. Pushes that adjuster out, and that might not have been working. So we're going to adjust those out so that they got just a little bit of drag, rolling resistance, and then we're going to go back and try it out because all the wheels are turning. When I hit the brakes, I get a little bit of resistance, but not enough to slow us down. I guess while we're in here, I'll kind of show you what you got going on. This is your wheel cylinder, which is basically like a hydraulic cylinder. You got your hose coming from the back side, and you got these 2 pins on each side coming out, which are basically like the rams on a cylinder. And as you push your brake pedal, pushes hydraulic fluid out here, pushes your brake pads out against your drum. That's what's supposed to slow you down. And all these springs in here, they just do a bunch of magic. But everything looks in good shape. Like I said, the drum isn't all chewed up. It's got pretty good pads in there. It looks like they got the big pad on the back and then the short pad on the front, so they got that assembled correctly. This self-adjuster is riding on the adjuster wheel, so that's assembled correctly. And there's plenty of grease in the wheel bearings, so that's good. It's too bad they didn't grease the tie rod ends and stuff, but I guess 117,000 miles, or maybe it's 217. Things just wear out. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust this out. I sprayed a little Zeppum on there, and then put the drum on there, see what kind of resistance we got, maybe adjust it a little bit more. It does have these two access holes on the drum, and then you put your little adjuster wrench in there, or a flat screwdriver works if you got one of those, or a little bar, little flat bar. And just adjust that wheel up until you got a little bit of resistance. You don't want too much, otherwise things are gonna get hot. And obviously this, being how things are dirty and there's a little rust in there, we're gonna have a little bit more resistance, and as we run it, it'll clean itself up. Don't breathe this stuff in, it's apparently bad for you. I don't know. I'm still alive, I guess. All right, slamming her back together. So I made it all the way to the last wheel, which is the right rear. And I noticed there was a little dampness going on behind the brake drum. That's not a spot you want to be moist. Pulled the wheel cylinder apart, measured it up. Well, I didn't measure it up. You can see on that cup right there, she says 1 inch. So then I pulled her apart. It wasn't too pitted up. It was a little crusty in there. It ain't great. Didn't have a new one on the shelf. Ran my emery cloth through there and kind of cleaned it up. Try to go in kind of a circular in and out, you know, like a crosshatch pattern, because you don't want your grooves going in and out, because that's where these seals got to ride. And then I found a new old stock 1 inch wheel cylinder kit here. So I guess we're gonna wham your all back together. So basically you got your spring in the middle, you got your cups on each side, and you got your piston on the outside. That's what pushes against your rods on your brake drums, and you got these outer seals. So stick her back together, hopefully it don't leak. Might have to order a new one though. Not many people rebuild these anymore because the kit's twice as much as a whole new Chinesium one. Tech tip of the day, how to rebuild a wheel cylinder. So since we were missing the keys out of that pickup, I went and rounded up a replacement ignition switch. So a lot of people don't know how these work, but I'm going to show you how to take the tumbler out of one of these. The first thing you got to have is a key. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you've got the key, then all you got to do is take a paper clip, or this is a torch tip cleaner. You get that little tiny hole right there. And you take and you slide that in there. Well, first you turn it all the way to accessory, which is all the way to the left. Push that down, you'll feel a little spring in there. See how that kind of springs down? Let's see if I do this one-handed. Well, not one-handed, maybe one hand. And you turn it to the left, or cheese and rice. Maybe it's two-handed. There we go. And just slides right out. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's how you replace it. If you got one like this, what you can do is run a big self-tapping screw in there and then hook onto it with a pry bar, I suppose would work, but ideally a slide hammer, just like they do in the movies. So you take and run that screw in there as far as you can, you hook a slide hammer to it and pull it out. And then you'll see after you get that tumbler slid out of there, you can see that rectangular slot in there. That's pretty much straight up and down now. You can take and turn that with a screwdriver, and that'll fire your car up. So another tech tip is you got all these spades on the back of a switch, and this is typical for most switches, whether it's got spades or it's got round terminals or whether it's got screw terminals. But it's pretty much got everything labeled. See how it's got like accessory up top, so that's your accessory, so that's not going to have power at crank. It'll have power when you turn the key to the right and to the left, and then you got your solenoid there, so that's going to be power at crank. And then you got these two on the right, which are battery power. And then you got this one on the left, which is your ignition power, so that's going to have power with your key on, and then your key at crank. but it's not going to have power when you turn your key to accessory. And then I'm not sure what G1 and G2 are for. But so if you're ever into a situation like I am here where you don't have the keys, you can pop the connector off the back and you get a couple of chunks of wire, and then you just hook up from battery to your ignition and you'll have ignition power, and then you take another jumper wire from your other battery or tie into that one and then go to your solenoid, and you can get it on and off the trailer, steal it, whatever you need to do. And then typically on GMs, battery power is red, kind of, that's across most platforms, I guess. Ignition is pink, it's a pretty good sized wire, and then your solenoid wire is purple. So to get a GM going, it's red, pink, and purple. I don't know what color accessory is, but pink and purple, they're the two you want to look for. Let's put this sucker back together and good to go. I don't know why that key is square instead of round, but we don't ask questions. Just stick it in there. So I've never actually done the old hammer slide, so it's kind of like hammer slogging. But we're gonna give it a whirl here. So I got a self-tapping screw of sorts, Phillips head. I don't know, we'll give it a shot. Then I got a vice grip into my slot hammer. We're just gonna tap that baby on there. Strike one. Now we're thinking with our dipstick, Jimmy.
Think with your dipstick, Jimmy!
Get her in there all nice and deep like.
That's it, boy. Get in there nice and deep like.
Oh no! Well, I mean, it kind of worked. So there's that keyway I was talking about. I think it was actually that keyway, but same thing. So that would work for you. You just turn that right there with your screwdriver. Bada bing, bada boom. So we got our new ignition switch in with key. Let's give her a test. No smoke. Turns over. That doesn't sound good, huh, Duff? Yeah. Listen to that. Oofta. She's noisy. We better check this starter shimmage out. It's a terrible noisy starter. Sounds like cats in there. Silly kitties. Kitty cats. We can go for a ride. Well, we better fix the starter before we go for a ride. So usually everybody just throws shims at these starters. I'm going to show you how you shim them, why you shim them, and the correct way to figure out how to shim them. First thing you do is grab a drill index, and then you find your 1/8 inch drill bit. And hopefully that one ain't broke or missing. We're going to say that one's pretty close. It's a size over, but the 1/8 is broken. And then you got your ring gear here on your flex plate, and you got your starter drive. So the shaft that your starter drive runs on, you take and you slide this in between there, and you should have about an 1/8 inch. So you can see I got way too much in there. The problem with shims is, if you put more shims, it's going to move that starter down, and it's going to be further away. So one thing you could do is you could shim this inside bolt, like the guys did before, and that'll tip it sideways and in, but that ain't right. So what we're going to do is pull the starter off, and we're going to machine that surface down, and then that'll move it up. I have no idea why this is. Maybe it's because it's a crappy starter. Maybe it's because it's a crappy flex plate. I doubt it's because the crank is off center, but this is the second one I ran into recently, so I think it's just a bad batch of flex plates and or starters. So we'll take some material off that. Don't be worried about taking too much off, because you can always put a shim to bring it down. But that's how you do it. 1/8 inch drill bit. Fit it in between the shaft of the starter drive and the flex plate. And you can see I got way more than an 1/8 inch. So we need to take some material off that to get her quieted down, because that is just hideous. It's like, well, this one was no good, probably because it says NAPA on there. I don't know what that stands for. National Auto Parts Association, maybe, but I think guys call it NAPA. Anyway, no bueno. No good in English. But we got this one here, and we had a damn it, my machinist take a little material off there, so that should bring her up a little bit higher. and then get that a little bit closer, hopefully. And here's how you test them. You take a battery, that's good, and you ground it out to the housing, and then you hook her up to the big stud, that one, and then you got this button here, and you hook it up to this inside one when it's by the block, and then you take your got no friend button. Look at that. And that's how I found out the Napa one is no bueno. Let me show you. Bloop. And then you hook that one there. Wah, wah, wah. We're just gonna go ahead and throw that one in the trash pile. Duff is not happy with Napa right now. And then we're gonna throw that one on there. See if that gets us a little bit closer. So it doesn't whine so much, because Duff, he don't like kitty cats. Whether they're purring or whether they're fighting in a plastic bag. All right, don't sound like two cats fighting in a dumpster. Ooh. That didn't sound that good, Duff. Maybe I'll take that spare one I got, get her machine down a little bit, and hopefully that clears it up. This one will have to work for now, because I'm sick of swapping them out tonight. This one might just be on there forever, as long as I have it anyway. So I took some compressed air, blew a little air into the fuel tank. Hopefully that'll push the fuel up to the fuel pump. It'll start sucking, push up the carb. Slingshot engaged!
Slingshot engaged.
I'm gonna see if we got fuel up here to the carburetor. Pretty sure I know the answer, but dry as a popcorn fart. Maybe our float's stuck. I don't know. Makes you feel better to hit something with a Swedish nut lathe, though. Seems a little congested. A lot of stuff came out of the exhaust, not a ton. So I'm starting to wonder if there's maybe not some more restriction in the exhaust. And it really wasn't that loud, like the critter houses inside there, or maybe muffling her down a bit. I don't know. Wish I had somebody here to watch other than you guys to see how much blow-by we got coming out of the covers of the valves. Guess we'll keep trying. It's getting better, right? We got somewhere between a quarter and halfway up the gauge for oil pressure. Temp is coming up. Fuel gauge isn't working. We got a small mouse house fire on the exhaust manifold on the passenger side. Took a gallon of transmission fluid for the transfusion would slop us into gear. The brakes feel like they might work. And we got a starter that's making a lot of noise. But, I mean, other than that, we're doing all right. I'll drink to that. Not bad for being off the road for 25 years. After our first run-in, I could see some embers down here in the ram horn manifold. I'm sure it doesn't have anything to do with the chock full of nuts, coffee beans and whatnot that are up here. Oh boy. That vacuum hose is real squishy. Great. And we got a pretty good exhaust leak over there somewhere. I didn't notice a bunch of blow-by coming out of the valve cover, so that's a plus. Don't seem to be spewing any fluids out. Oh, one thing I did check was the stamping number here on the front of the block up by the water pump. And the last 3 digits are TYZ. And from what I remember, that was a 75 350 from a pickup, like a 1 ton to a half ton anywhere, something about like this. And it's 165 horse 4-barrel, so it does have a replacement engine in it. It's not numbers matching, so we can pretty much do whatever we want to it. I mean, it's not Barrett Jackson material anymore. Got the haze to kind of clear up in here, open the doors. Duff went out and got some fresh air. Look for some wabbits. Oh yeah, she's warming up real good. I'm sure that thermostat's probably not stuck. Good news is, like I said, it's 0 degrees or -5. So heating shouldn't be an issue. But I did notice an awful lot of debris came out of the tailpipe. There's some more of those Planters peanuts. Oh, hey, look. That's a very small critter right there. Another one of them. Those nuts, those are roasted. Dug through my stash of parts. Found this Points cap. Looks pretty low miles. And some fancy blue plug wires. They're not red or yellow, so they're only going to add 5 horsepower instead of 10, but we're going to stick these on there, see if she runs a little bit better. Here we go. So we got our plug wires on. They're the big long ones. They should go underneath the manifolds and down to the oil pan, and they're just no fun to route, so I just kind of strewing them out. Hopefully they're not laying on the manifolds or getting in a belt. But so when I was working on the number 7 cylinder back here, I did notice that the bolts that go into the head through the exhaust manifold are loose. So maybe if we tighten those up, we can slightly alleviate the chooch that's coming out of the back of that exhaust manifold. Worth a shot. And then while I'm in here, I'm going to put a new vacuum advance hose on there because she's a little soggy, kind of like them plug wires. Yeah. Look at that thing. Just like a frickin' limp noodle.
Say that to my face, you limp noodle.
You never want to be dealing with a limp noodle. Make a pill for that. See if it runs any better now. A couple of vacuum hoses, a couple of plug wires. Maybe fix that exhaust leak. Gosh, we're making progress. We're down to just a starter and a carburetor and crossing our fingers on brakes. So the way that it cranks over and just the way that it revs up, I feel like the timing's off. So got my fancy snap-on distributor wrench. We're going to loosen up the 3/8 bolt that's holding the distributor down and maybe play with that a little bit. See if we can get a couple of HPs out of her and maybe make it start better. Duff, you think she's gonna light off today? We're gonna cheat. We're gonna give her a little hot sauce, just in case. Oh, you got faith, eh? Oh, that's a bad starter. Son of a biscuit. We failed, Duff. Good at the jack and the stands. Damn you, starters. Not good, Duff. I think I found the issue. Little bar fight took place down there. And by bar fight, I mean that starter got its nose cone broken. So I would say that that one lost. You see, that's supposed to be connected. So I guess we're gonna have to figure out what caused that. Super. Just killing it here at Mortske's. Anybody can make a small block Chevy run. The starter saga has continued. This one is died of a broken nose. That'll get you. Stay out of bar fights. What I did discover is there's some witness marks, is what I guess we call them down there. That's clear evidence right there doing some CSI that the flex plate ring gear schmucked that, tore right off. I did notice that before I put it on that opening was awful small. Same with this nose cone. So I'm guessing these are 87 to 95 TBI engines. See how they got that big flat surface right there? Looks like it's milled down a little bit. I think those are off later engines. And apparently you can't put them on earlier engines. Maybe. I don't know. And here's what they should look like. Show these side by side. See how these are two separate platforms right here? And this is all solid all the way across. I think that's the issue. Well, part of it. And then see how big that opening is compared to that one? I think you gotta have that clearance for the flex plate in there. Otherwise it'll catch right there and just go kablooey. I know this Napa starter is no good, not only because it says Napa on it, but because we tried it. Let's just rob parts off the Napa one and put on there, because we know that one turns over. That'll give you guys some good experience on how I swap parts, so sit back, enjoy the show. This project is really starting to annoy me. So from what I remember, swapping nose cones is basically the same as what we did swapping solenoids. But instead of just loosening up these two bolts here on the end cap, you actually take them all the way out. And I'm starting here with this broken one, because if I screw it up, I'm really not out anything. And then I usually try to stand these up on end, because if you tip them the other way, things tend to fall out of there, and then you're SOL. So there's a pivot pin right here that engages your Bendix. We gotta take that off. There you go, how to pull a nose cone off. And here's your starter Bendix. That's what kicks in and out. It's got kind of like a rotational keyway, so it when this spins over, centrifugal force slams it out. And those are the teeth that mesh on your flex plate. And then this is basically just a big electrical motor in there. But yeah, if your Bendix goes bad, this is how you change your Bendix. I think there's a little snap ring inside of that guy right there. And you're back on the road. Oh, that's good stuff right there, Napa. Yeah. Sure, those parts are completely unnecessary. Let's hope you guys can't screw up a nose cone. So you see this roll pin / alignment pin here? It looks pretty loose, so I wonder if we can steal the one out of here. Maybe it's still in the housing. Oh, it is. Good to go. Good to go. With the alignment pin right there. So now, you slide that fork into that slot right there, and you just slide her back together. That diameter on these two solenoids is different, so I guess you got to use the other one. Here we go. Nose cone swap on a starter. I'm gonna go wash my hands before I pick my nose. So my new Napa Congloma transformer funky starter here still had a little bit more than an 1/8 inch gap between the drive post here and the flex plate, so took matters upon myself. Took the old flapper disc, just took a little bit off the top in the middle. See if it's better now. You're not gonna believe this stuff. I think we machined it perfectly. You don't believe me, do you? So I got my 1/8 inch drill bit. Watch this. Slips right through there. Nice tight fit. Maybe a bit too tight, but see what happens. We can always shim it out easy enough. Like a glove.
Like a glove.
Good enough release for it. Till it breaks itself. Well, what do you think, Duff? I'm gonna hook up the battery and give her a crank. See what happens. Let's do this. Ho ho ho! Just listen to this. So much better. Now we just need to figure out why it didn't start. Probably because we're not getting fuel. We should check that fuel filter. Check the fuel filter. Well, Duff, it's 11 below without the windshield. Should we take her for a test drive? It's gonna be a cold walk home. Ah, it's a Chevy. It won't make us walk. Knock on wood. Timing's a bit too far advanced. Gotta turn the idle down. Did you put gas in? Well, it's got posi. Speedo works. First. Second. Use a little exhaust work. Steering wheel's even pretty straight for as worn out as the front end is. It's 45. Good oil pressure, good water temp. Fuel says it's at like 140%. This is alright at 55. Shoot! This thing ain't too shabby. I think, gosh dang, this thing runs pretty flippin' good. Little fires back there. Brakes? Oh yeah. Right where they need to be. That's a new record. I think we hit second even. We might hit third. Now she's bogging though. Why is it doing that? Apparently it didn't like those donuts. Plug wire come on? Maybe just need some new plugs. Boggy in the lower RPMs, but once you get her opened up, she likes it. Any smoke back there? Ah, we're good. Handles like she's on rails. How convenient. It died right when we got home. Judging by how wet the carburetor is here, I'm guessing the float stuck. That's where we got our bog. She was flooding out. That's why it ran so great at WFO. Pedal to the metal. Works great. Also, I think I figured out where our exhaust leak is. Here's our manifold shield. There's our exhaust pipe. Here's the spacer in between the two. So we need a gasket in there and a donut down there and tighten that hardware up. That shouldn't be too bad to fix. Well, there you have it. We got a 1970 GMC half-ton long box pickup back on the road after sitting for 20 plus years. All because somebody had the wrong starter, or didn't know how to shim a starter, or didn't know how to diagnose a starter. I guess we had a couple other battles along the way. Issue with the wheel cylinder, no keys. Still got a few things to do. Definitely needs a carb kit. Probably use some plugs. To be expected for something that's been off the road for 25 years. So let me know. What do you guys think you should do with this thing? I'm thinking give her a good pressure washing once it gets well above freezing. Put a drop shackle in the back. Get her down just a little bit. Cut a coil on the front. Well, we got the coils out. Maybe stick some ball joints, tie rod ends in there. Maybe put a little bit bigger tire in the back, like a 255, 70, something like that, and a new 245 up front. Drive the snot out of it. I'm not going to fix it all up. Probably would sell it. I'm going to keep an eye open for a hood that's doesn't have these ventilation holes in it. Find a mirror, a couple other odds and ends, but overall, pretty dang good pickup for what it is. So let me know. Comment down below. What would you do with this thing if you had it? Alright, appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Duff appreciates it too. Remember, check out my other videos. Like, share, subscribe. Doesn't matter how you get it done, as long as you're having fun. God, it's so much more fun to work on these GMs than it is Fords and Intersnationals and Studebakers, Plymouths. Don't you think?